I don't know what the hell the fight is about over the Confederate flag. We need to put the American flag down because we've cut as much hell under that as the Confederate flag. Who are we fighting today? It's the people that carry the American flag. What flag do the police have? What flag flies over the non-justice department? What flag flies over the White House where a black man lives that's called nigger, nigger, nigger every day? What about that flag? So every time we die, they give us a symbol, no substance. We died on Edmund Pettus Bridge under that flag. Under that flag. We fought in wars under that flag. And came back and were hung and murdered and brutalized under that flag. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So don't give us no symbol. Well, now we're going to pull the flag down. That's as easy as it is pulling your pants down. You got to answer a call to nature, you pull your pants down. That's easy. Pull a flag down and you're supposed to go away satisfied? See, you don't know what justice looks like. If somebody can pull a flag down and you're happy as though they did something. We want justice under that flag, or what the hell is the use of us paying allegiance to a flag under which we get no justice?
All right. Okay, we're back on the show. All right, this is J and K Talks Today's Relationship Show. Lady K is out. We're going to be having our regular in, Miss Debbie.
Hi, Jay. It is a great honor to be back on the show again today with our special guest.
All right. And our special guest today is none other than the Pastor Jerry Jerkins.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here once again.
All right. All right. All right. You all heard from him and his lovely wife, Naomi Jerkins, when we had that show, How to Love During Hardships, Trials, and Tribulations.
Yeah.
All right. That was a wonderful show. Go back and check it out in our archives at jtalkstoday's relationships.com. Okay. And you will also find that pasted on Facebook and Twitter. Okay, you can archive it in both areas. All right, today's topic, we're going to be talking about something. You heard the little clip that we had. Of course, many people may have recognized the voice. That was Louis Farrakhan. Speaking a little word, introducing our topic for today, and it is the many forms of slavery. Many forms of slavery, or I should maybe consider the different forms of slavery. All right, because a lot of times when we say the word slavery or slave, we many people just go back to way when they were whipping folk with and chaining them down and all that, and on the cotton field and scenes from Roots. But there are all types of forms of slavery. There are many forms of slavery. If we think about the Holocaust and all that. So, all right. So we have many different forms of slavery. I think Pastor Jerkins has an outline that he's a he's still a civil rights leader, but he held a title as a civil rights leader here in the state of Tennessee, but not only battling civil situations just in Tennessee, but all over the nation, pretty much, joining in the efforts for the emancipation of slavery and rights to all people. All right, I said all people. All right, and how many years was that in the NAACP you held as president?
12 years. I'm still active with the local chapter here in Clarksville. I'm the president emeritus now.
All right, president emeritus. All right, and yeah, he's done it all, folks. Y'all thought Martin Luther King was the only person got arrested for not getting up and move. Pastor Jerkins have seen all those things too. They had the threats and many other things coming up in life. All right, but there are many different forms of slavery. We're gonna break out, kind of open your mind to some things as to what slavery is or what it's really about. It's not just whips and chains. Pastor Jerkins, you seem to have a little something to talk about on slavery, since you dealt a lot with justice and rights, and let's hear what you have to say here.
Well, one of the things when we think about slavery, when our mind go back to slavery, we go back to the time when we were taken from Africa. But there's a whole lot of nations that practice taking slaves, even in Africa. Those chiefs was also taking slaves when they conquered the one village or whatever. They took those people as slaves themselves. So, but when we think about slavery here in America, we think about it is our thought that run back to the time when we were captured and we were put in servitude under the white plantation owner, and that's about where we go. But as you say, Jay, there are so many forms of slavery. In fact, some of us may not know it, but we may be practicing in a sense or support of some of those things unknowingly ourselves, because deep within the slave chain, we find that there are things. What about the shirt that I'm wearing right now, Jay? What about this shirt? What about the dress you're wearing, sister? If you got cotton in it, we may be supporting some area where cotton is picked by children who are out of school. Instead of being in school, they have to spend some of their days out in the field under a form of slavery, taking care of that. What about the coffee that we drink? In some of those countries where we buy that stuff and have it shipped into us, so that the manufacturers also that's also picked in the field and prepared by people who are in servitude. Not only that, but you have also What about that cell phone that you use, sister?
That's
Some of the
right.
parts of that cell phone made in foreign country, and sometimes that's also made by people under servitude.
Yeah.
So when we think about slavery, it goes way back, but also it comes to the present, where we have people just right around us right now that are serving under servitude, which is a form of slavery. And not on me, Mark. I got that's the other boy. You were saying we're going to talk about the different forms of slavery, and that's right. I won't go into all that, but we will talk about the different forms of slavery that we practice. And right here, right now, that subject is alive in Tennessee, and we'll talk about that as we move along.
All right. Yeah, many different forms of slavery. I'm reminded about the movie American Ballad, and if you all haven't seen it, if anybody that hasn't seen it, I advise you take a look at that movie. It's based on a true story.
Yes.
Back in Texas, there was a DA called Beckett, and the police and the justice system had a scheme that they had set up that they would go and arrest innocent folk. And this is not just only in Texas. This is something that's happening all across the land.
Yes.
And not just in America, but I mean it's even worse in foreign countries because their law system is really such a dictatorship. But here in America, where it's supposed to be organized, which in a way it is, it's just on the wrong side of the as we say, wrong side of the tracks. But you know, in that movie, American Ballad, this DA and his law enforcement team, they would go raid certain targeted areas. Most of those areas were the Negro African American community. And they would just run in and bust open doors, didn't have no warrant, wasn't looking for really anybody so much in particular. They just picked some folk, arrested them, took them down. They had somebody who they had actually, they didn't hire this person to be an informant. He was framed his own self to be forced to be an informant, to lie on everybody, to say that he witnessed them selling drugs, and they had a game plan and everything. So what they would do is threaten everybody arrested with a charge that they were doing drugs or selling drugs or some type of handling of narcotics, which many folk, now there were some people that were guilty, but there were many folk that had never had any association with drugs, but that's the charge they would pin on them. Then they put the bail super high and put the pressure on them and let them and tell them that they could get out if they just do a plea bargain. In other words, that you won't have to sit in the jail. While your job, you possibility of losing your job because you're sitting in jail, possibility of losing your kids and there's nobody at home because you're sitting in jail. You could go ahead and get out if you just take a plea bargain, and they would say, well, we'll give you probation or something. But the thing of it is that if you plead guilty to a plea bargain, even though you're innocent, just to get out, it goes on your record. There are housing areas that if they look at your record and see that you had an arrest for drugs or some type of major felony, they won't let you move into their residence. So that hurts you. Jobs, look at which now that does not have to be revealed. That just got passed. However, there are still some jobs that's still sneaking in a way, trying to find out information of people's backgrounds. So they see records, they won't hire you. Banking institutions sometimes won't deal with you if you have felonies.
Absolutely.
So it puts you in a situation.
Mhm.
So if you're jobless, homeless, can't get survive, many times what that does do to what society is turn you into a slave to society. And now many folk turn to crime to cover them because they were innocent.
Yeah.
Now they're making criminals out of innocent people because of and that's one form of slavery.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
And Jay, so much of that, what bothers me about this time in season is that, there are people today that would like to believe or wear blinders that slavery does not exist or racism does not exist. The case that you're talking about in Texas, there's actually a case that's going on where a lot of the judges there in the city of Detroit, some police officers, and some lawyers are being brought up on federal charges for that same thing. For stopping young black men, planting drugs on them, and having these court cases and these sentences brought up against them. And there's so many. Two officers in particular are actually pending trial either the last of this month or the 1st of April for that same thing. And the FBI are working close together. And like I said, some judges, some lawyers that are going to be caught up in this thing as well, because there are so many young men in the city of Detroit right now that are in prison falsely.
All right.
Well, right now, WJZM, there's the long version is on for 2 hours a day from 9 to 11. And he has a program called I forgot what he called the program, the long version, but it's dealing with law. And he is talking about incidents and how unjust many of the things that are happening. He is he's a lawyer himself. He's been disbarred because of situation that he got into, but he is dealing with law, and that is such. It's an entertaining, but it's also an education.
Absolutely.
And he talks about how that is. And one of the things I've written about, and I should have pulled that a little opinion I have on unjust law, unjust justice system that I wrote about how that things has happened so that there are so many. We're 12% of the population. We're 12% of that little noise you hear is our 4-year-old.
Yes.
And he's working on his drum. He likes to play drum. We got a full adult drum set for him, and so he just picked this time in my office next to the den to decide that he's going to work on his drums today. So Jay has gone over to try to quiet him down on that. But that is true today. You are in a sense the penalty that you pay. Ferguson. Let's look at Ferguson. What they discovered in Ferguson. They discovered that there were police. The whole system was rigged so that they could get you if you got a ticket. Okay, you went to jail. You couldn't pay the ticket. You had to go through a court. You had to get a lawyer. You couldn't afford to get the lawyer.
Right.
And there you were in jail.
Yes, sir.
That's a penalty. That's part of slavery also. So when you look at slavery, the real, just a simple definition of slavery is anyone who is under the control of another person against their will.
Yes.
Now that could be somebody in your house. You know, it could be somebody that's in the community, however you want to put it. But if they're against their will, then that's a form of slavery.
Yes, sir.
Right. Yeah. I agree. And there's a lot of things, and I guess I would add to that, against your will, and many times, sometimes it could be that you're conned into it, or tricked You know, your will may be the desire to be in a different place or a different action or a different environment, but you're under the belief that you might be in that until you find out later that's not the environment or the desire that you were desiring and wanting to be in. Like back in the long time ago in the Negro slavery, when we had being sold and whipped and all that. You had some folks, some of the African Americans or the Negroes, in the big house, as they call it. In the big white house, in the big house. So they were told that if they got in the big house, that they kind of somebody, so they were conned because as far as the slave owner, they might have gotten the big house, but they still, to the slave owner, was no better than anybody else out there in the cotton fields living in the slave home. Sometimes a person can be steered or deceived to thinking they're in the place that they want to be in or desire to be in and not being. So they're yielding to a control in a deceptive way. And they find out later that that's not where they need to be. But once they find that out, they're in a position where seemingly they can't get out.
Okay.
And that little bit becomes against their will to a certain point. I'm going to give you one suggestion, and here's one with relationships. You have a female who's steered to the direction that she done made it to the big house, as I was saying. They got this nice hunk and and this nice guy. They have a movie called The Nice Guy, the Perfect Guy. The Perfect Guy. The girl thought they had this just perfect guy, and they got hooked up. Came to find out that the guy was a little off his rocker a little bit, and she couldn't break away from the guy. I mean, that's not where she wanted to be. She made a decision that she wanted to be done with this guy, but she could not get rid of the guy, and that was totally against her will to be, still connected, still have him in her presence, and the only way she could get out of it was the guy had to die. I mean, he had to die. And I'm not saying people have to be killed to get out of slavery, but the substance of the slavery has to die. Has to die. And unless we kill the substance of the slavery or what's causing the slavery, we may stay in bondage.
Well, you're not saying that a person has to die in order to get out of it, but a lot of times that's the only way that it happens. And when we look at with the Civil War, I mean, they wasn't fighting so much. Somebody said that Lincoln was concerned about saving the nation rather than the slavery. But the many people who died out of that, and we still are fighting that battle of freedom from some people. We just listened to a clip as we came on today from Farrakhan, and he was talking about the American flag. Well, there's still two flags. That other flag is still flying, but you got another flag. And if you notice some of the trucks that are flying right now, they talk about, I'm honoring my heritage. What is your heritage? There are some people that will never give up on where the black person ought to be, or will feel that one of the definitions of slavery is that a domineering influence over another person.
Absolutely, yeah.
And there are some people that will never accept the fact that there are some African American people who are smarter than they are,
Absolutely.
got more
Yeah.
money than they
Yeah.
got, and all of that.
Mhm.
They would always feel that because of their race,
Yeah.
they are superior.
That's right,
You know,
Pastor.
and that's
Yes.
a form that's locked in their mind.
Yeah.
So in a sense, they're in slavery.
Yeah.
They're locked
point.
into a slave position.
Absolutely.
Think they can be dominated over another person.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Wow. That's a good point. So, Pastor, in the beginning of the show, you gave us a couple of examples about forms of slavery. You know, talking about the clothing that we wear and how in different countries people are used to pick cotton for small amounts of money or things like that. So, what other examples can you give us of forms of slavery?
Oh, thank you. Well, there's domestic servitude.
Okay.
You've got a job, and especially people who work in homes,
Yes.
housewives, not the housewives, but women who work in a home, go to a place and they stay in that home and clean up and cook and all that. Sometimes that can be dominating influence over that individual, where they are at a sense where I have a book on my shelf, Sister to Sister. What's the name of that book? But it's a book showing where this lady was working in a home, and she didn't believe in some of the stories that they had been telling her.
Okay.
What she did, she cleaned the house, she cooked and everything, and in that house she was paid $3 a day.
Oh,
Black woman paid $3 a day, and somewhere in there she said the white owner, the white person, the white man expected a lot out of that $3 a day she was getting.
Yeah.
Because then he wanted sex. So sometimes people get tied into situations.
Yes.
And we'll talk about this sex deal just a little later on, but that's a bond that we're fighting right now. That's the new slavery.
That's the new slavery.
Yeah.
Yes, Pastor. Yes.
No.
Yes.
And then there's forced labor. And I think that's one of the things that you're talking about. There are people who in foreign countries are brought over here, and they're brought over here believing that they can get a job, and people bring them over here. Matter of fact, every once in a while they will stop a truck, and they got a whole lot of folk in them. They're bringing them over here.
Right.
They bring them over. They don't have anywhere to live. They don't have any money, and right away they put themselves in a place of servitude.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they have to do everything these people tell them. Okay, they're captured. Okay.
Yeah, there are many different forms of slavery. See, a lot of times we don't even see it. I have one that I'm going to bring that up more towards the end. I'm going to play another clip here, and folk, listen up to what was said. Now you hear this is going to be Bill Martyrs talking about this, and he has a talk show, comes on TV on a regular basis, and just listen to a little bit of it, because we hear in this campaign quite often the Republicans saying that America, that the president we have now, President Obama, has messed up America, and that they need to put America back the way it was. We need to put America back the way it was before his time.
Take our country back.
Take our country back.
That's the slogan that is used.
Take our country back and put it back the way it was. Now, now before I say something, I'm gonna let you. And Bill Mayer is a white male who has a big television talk show, comes on the network. I can't remember which one, but comes on the network. Y'all listen to what he had to say.
Republican call him a liberal.
All right.
To me, there was just an amazing conspiracy of delusion among the people on that stage, because they talked about the world as if it's on fire and America is in the toilet and other countries are killing us. And the only debate was whether Obama has ruined America on purpose or by accident. And Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again," they all have a version of that, which is basically we have to restore things the way they were. Wait, let me read some statistics here. Jeb Bush, here's a great one. There's not a place in the world where we're better off today than 6.5 years ago. Okay, you know what? There are things called facts. You can actually measure shit. I know it's not... No, it's not. I know facts aren't in the Bible, but can't we use them sometimes? I mean, just read the facts to these people who think we have to restore to the time before Obama. These are facts from Bush's last year to now. Unemployment, 7.2, now down to 5.1. No. You'll tire yourselves. Gas price, $3.24 down to $2.31. Percentage of the uninsured, health uninsured, 15% down to 9.2. Energy independence. We used to import 11 million barrels of oil a day. Now it's down to 4.5. Teen pregnancy, 40.2 births per thousand, 26.5 now. Iran, centrifuges, 19,000. Now they can have under 6,000. And then GDP growth went up from minus 0.3% to 3.7%. The Dow Jones, 10,365 to 16,384. So my question is, we want to restore the old numbers? It seemed to me.
So
That's very interesting. You know, when you start talking about facts, then it becomes a whole new different argument. When you talk about facts, I mean, you know, because as long as you can argue it, you know, people have an opportunity to argue their issue or whatever is going on at that present time, then that's fine. But when you start talking about facts, then that's when emotions get involved. People don't want to hear what the truth is, and you cannot dispute what facts say, what the truth is. You can't dispute. I mean, you can, but what good is it going to get you to that point? You know, at that point. So the comment that Bill was making was that America wants to be, in overall, restored back to what it was before President Obama came into office. I saw a Facebook post a few days ago, and it was 4 ladies at probably Trump's rally during the time Trump was speaking, and they actually had T-shirts on that says "Put America Back White" or "Bring America Back White." And that was interesting to me because America is white. That's the point. That's the question I'm asking. Is it just white people that's here? Is it not other nationalities of people that are here, or has it always been that way?
Well, you got a problem. You got a good question there. Is America white? Because that's the problem. America is turning brown.
Okay.
Oh man, that's right. That's right. America is turning brown. Yes. Look at the statistics.
Okay.
America, and there are some people. They feel that they were born in the privilege.
Yes, in the privilege.
Yeah. That white is right. Okay. And that's the way they are thinking in their mind. And when you hear these politicians now talk about take our nation back. I got a piece. I hadn't released it yet. I'm working on it right now, and I sent out a lot of email. But anybody listen to this, you're gonna be getting. If you on my list, you'll be getting this email, which I'm talking about. That very same thing.
Okay.
They in this political stuff right now. They don't like Obama not because of his practice, not because of his presidency. They don't like him because number one. They didn't think that he was going to make it, and the leader of the Republican Party right now. What's his name? Who is head in the race right now? Who is that?
Trump. Yeah.
Oh, y'all remember this name? Donald Trump.
That's right, Donald Trump.
He's there, he tried to kill him by this birther stuff. I mean, he tried to do that.
Right.
And still, he doesn't believe now that he's American. He still don't believe that because he couldn't prove it.
Absolutely.
See? But he still doesn't believe it. So it's not that. It is that the black person, African descendants of Ham have come about. And some of them ought to go back and read their Bible because they'll find out that descendants of Ham is all through the Bible. God used them. He must wanted the world to know something about Egypt and where we were. You know, Egypt is in Africa. So some people don't know. They don't want to believe that.
They don't want to
so when we talk about slavery, we look back at the Bible and see that God sent some people back to Africa. Sent them to Africa. I mean, they sent them to Egypt. How long was that? Over 400 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Remember that 400 years? And some people look at the Bible and say it might have been 430 years that they were down there in Africa. So, in Egypt. So, when we look at what you were just saying, Jay, that is right. There are some people who say, and thank you for that information. I'm going to go back and use those statistics. Am I right? And send that out and let some people know that I don't know where you want to go back to. I don't want to go back to something.
Right. That's right.
I don't want to go back to those days when you had my ancestors in prison. You know, I want to move forward.
Yeah, they're talking about restoring it back to the way he was using Bush. In the time of Bush, there were hundreds of thousands of people who lost their homes due to loss of jobs, loss of the economy, who actually lost people who had been paying for their home for 20 and 30 years, and then because of the thing that the Republicans did. Now, it wasn't just George Bush. It was the Republicans. Now, y'all got to remember, it was the Republican Party. It wasn't just what Judge Bush was, because that not everything, even though we have a president, it's just not the whole president's say. It's the president's implementation, but not the president's say. Because you still have a House and you have a Senate. And all of them have to network together to pull things off. But the Republicans, because of what they did, many people lost their home. We all became slaves to society of acts of what the Republican put out there, and then we tend to forget. Because I have another clip I'm going to put up in a little bit, but this speaker is going to be saying some things. And I admired that very much. We tend to forget as time goes on and we begin to progress, we begin to forget the past of what some of the pains were, you know. And just like our youth nowadays, they don't recognize the pains of the past of the Negro coming out of slavery. And many of the Jews, the Jewish children, they don't really, I mean, even in their generation, they don't have the sensitivity of the pain of what their forefathers suffered in the Holocaust. So we tend to forget the pain and the suffering, and because we forget and it becomes immune to us, then we tend to not deal with the certain situations the way we need to. And so when many folk of color, and I'm not just talking about Negroes, you have Mexicans, you have many other folk, because actually the Mexicans are very much in the same, almost in the same boat as black, not as bad, but pretty much in the same boat as black. They want to try to spray raid and get rid of all the Mexicans. They don't. They want America to be Mexican and Latino free, just as well as be Negro and black free. But that's on the Republican side now. Y'all don't hear the language. Put it back the way it used to be. All right. Certainly, they're not talking about the economy. Except for, that was making their pockets richer. It has to be something else besides the economy. So what I mean, Louis Farrakhan said quite a lot. We caught as much hell under the American flag, as we did under the other flag, the rebel flag.
Well, part of what's happening right now, when you look at the Capitol and what's happening with the within the three branches of government, when you look at the courts, you look at Congress and all that, look at the presidency, you'll find that part of what's happening is that the president has to go around Congress in order to get some of the things done. That's why they talk about him with the executive orders, but the executive orders is all he had to do, because they would freeze up on him, shut down government, if they will, and all that kind of stuff, the Republicans, and then they want to criticize him for what's happening. They're the cause of it. They have not worked freely with him to help him with some of the plans that would help America.
Okay.
That's right.
So Jay, you made a good point as to say, the generation of children today don't see the form of slavery or racism as it was like our parents, our grandparents. I used to hear my mother talk about all the time being in Arkansas, how, it was just like nothing for the Ku Klux Klan to just come and put a cross in the yard and burn it. And she remembered that, growing up, but as her children, we never had to experience it on that level. But it does not mean that it still does not exist. And what I think a lot of time is that this generation of children have gotten so unfocused to different things. They have other things that capture their attention now, or their mindset, to keep them away from the actual reality of what has happened before them. So what do you think about that? Well, I mean, when you think about the generation of children today, I mean, we see them, today riding around in these souped up cars, go everywhere, and that's not to say that type of thing is anything wrong with it, but that's there seems to be their main focus.
Well, I agree with Jay, but also I would think, though, that maybe the strict Jewish family would have more control and historical reflection with the family than many of the black families, the African American families who suffered slavery, because they have traditions within their church and within their society where they remember that. Passover is one.
That's right.
What do you call it? Basmet? What is that? But they have all those kind of things.
Yeah, that's
that bring those youth up.
That's right.
So we tend to forget. Yet that we can't even get sometimes adults to bring their children to things that will help them to remember
Pastor.
Where we came from.
That's right.
We have, and when I came to Clarksville, how long have I been here? I guess almost 50 years, maybe 48 years. I was, 40 years at St. John, and I got there immediately after I came here. But when I came here, I heard some of the trustees and deacons were talking about how it used to be when they had August 8th celebration.
Okay.
And so I wanted to know what is August 8th? What is that about? They told me that August the 8th was a time when the Emancipation was signed, that they didn't get the word here, or the word that came to Clarksville, in a sense, when Johnson, who was a military governor in this town, in the state of Tennessee at the time, that he freed his slaves on August 8th.
Okay.
And because he freed his slaves, then that trickled down to all the slaves in Tennessee were free on August 8th. And that was, at one point, was such a great celebration that a white man told me this when I was talking to him one day in one of the stores about August 8th. He said that his dad told him that on August the 8th, they didn't even expect black folk to come to work.
Okay.
They shut down their stores on August 8th at that time, because they had that, bringing their children along to it.
Yeah.
Now we don't do it. We
No,
can't
that's
get
right.
children to come to us now.
That's
And
right.
some of the adults don't celebrate August 8th. But I started again.
Okay.
And I said, as long as I'm here, we're going to have August 8th celebration
Okay.
because that's part of our history.
Yes, sir.
So some people are still living in the past. They don't want to move forward. And as long as you got your mind back there, you can't. It cripples you from going somewhere else.
Absolutely.
So we've got to we got to remember where we came from.
Yeah.
But also we have to have goals of where we're going.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, you have to have some goals.
And let me say this: anytime, any person, any organization, any entity capture your mind, you're in slavery.
You in slavery.
That's right. If they got your mind.
Right.
And really, isn't that a song or something about a slang, Jeffrey, that it's the mind this time?
To not to understand propaganda.
Okay. Come on.
No, go ahead. No,
go ahead and put him on. No. That's all right.
No,
you got him ready.
He's not ready.
Okay, you're not ready yet? Well, we'll continue talking.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Brown, you got it. I think that it is important that we let our children know where we come from. You see, all of our children, well, they know where I am because we talk about that. And when I see it, they understand that where I am in action. I came up in Alabama, and I saw some things in Alabama. I resented having a 19-year-old boy come to our house who was collecting our insurance.
Okay.
You know, and called my mama Adele. He's 19 years old. But she wanted my mother to call him Mr. whatever. Oh, I resented that. I resented that. And I had him one day, he came, and on the wall, I had a picture of a girl that I was at one time dated. But you look at her, she looked like a Caucasian.
Okay.
You know. So one day he was looking at her, he was admiring her. Adele, he said, that sure is that's a nice looking girl. Is that somebody that you work for or something? She said, oh no, sir. Oh, that's Jerry's girlfriend. And he turned red. He threw out that pad and got out of that house. Okay. Here's mine. See, he captured.
Yeah.
He's under form of slavery himself.
Absolutely.
He got to break free.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to break free. All right. I have two clips that are going to go back to back with each other. All right. Here's one of conversation.
Many people are talking about the Oscars that came on.
Oh, yeah.
And they're disappointed with Chris Rock and his performance. They felt he was attempting to placate to the liberal audience that was there about racial issues and racism. And many felt that he should recognize those African Americans of the past who have been recognized. But I would say Chris Rock's duty was to host the show, and it's not his duty to recognize those from the past. It is the Oscars' duty to recognize those who are doing great performances in film today. And so he did exactly what he should have did. Let them know the world is uncomfortable with these old white guys who pick the Oscar winners, continue to do so. And shameful Stacey Dash. That sister is continuously trying to embarrass her own people, and she's embarrassing
I don't know
herself.
what she was doing there, but that whole bit with her, where she's trying to get people to feel better for her when she was talking about a Black History Month and how we should avoid that, and everybody, every race should just be interested in America. She was trying to be funny. I said on the air, you should have never showed up. That was ridiculous. I like her, and she's a good conservative. But Rock, this nonsense, he was making black people sound stupid, and he was acting like a gangster. This guy's worth tens of millions of dollars. It's ridiculous. Why don't we speak positively? And by the way, all these people make far more money than you and I can make.
Now, Matt,
it's ridiculous to act like a gangster.
Now, Matt, let me clean you up real quick.
Sure.
Because one, Chris Rock didn't make black people look stupid. He might have made himself look unbecoming, but certainly not black people.
Oh, he did.
Secondly, if he's looking like a gangster, the original gangster in America is the white man. Let's tell the truth about that.
Sure.
And thirdly, sir, if it is the duty of Stacey Dash to remind folks of black history, what good? She's a beautiful sister.
Sure.
And she's intelligent in her own way.
Why do we need a month?
What good does it do to have a brilliant black head disconnected from a black body. And when you say why do we month, I agree with you. We don't need a month. We need an everyday black history because you all have lied.
Why don't you act?
You've lied.
Why don't you act like you got a backbone? And why don't you act like you're successful? Why do you keep going backwards? Why does Chris Rock go backwards? Why does he interview some guy that looks like a hoop, a gangster? Why not interview the successful
Well,
one?
let me ask you a question. America's leading gangster today is Donald Trump. And secondly, you say, why did we look back? If I was a Jewish young man, would you ever tell me why did we look back and remember and teach our people never
But look
forget?
at where they are today.
But remember though, you don't tell Jewish people to never look back, but you'll tell us to forget.
You can have a history, same with black people. But let's look at the successful black Americans.
And why don't we for once tell the true history of the white man in America? Oh, we've never told that history. We've never told that history.
Sure we have.
What about when we use black babies in Florida as alligator bait? Let's tell that story.
Why don't you talk about what's going on today?
And why don't we talk about Thomas Jefferson raping little black kids, and he was the president of this country, and he raped little black
And why don't you say that we've come a long way and we changed and we're better?
We haven't come far enough. Let's tell the truth about history for once.
I've come far enough.
Oh, you come far enough.
Yeah.
He come far
Just one
enough.
person.
He come far enough. Yeah.
My goodness.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, they still got it in the heart, man. Yeah, if it's in the heart, it never go to the head. Yeah, you never get that. Yeah, but that's part. I like that discussion there. That's right. And that's the kind of discussion you'll have with people when you start really talking about few stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's the kind of, and when it sounds controversial, it will be one of those.
You go to church.
Here's another one.
And they say it's time to collect the Lord's money. This is what I want you to do. After all the money been collected, I want you to bring it to the most holiest spot in the room. Find the spot where they say Jesus was. And bring all the money. And then I want you to call up to the Lord and say, Lord, I'm about to throw this money up. And everything you need, you take. And whatever comes back down, you're giving that shit back to the people that you took it from. My problem with church is this. Because I'm going to make sure my Christian brothers and sisters don't think I'm attacking the faith. Not your faith, but the con artists who come in the name of it. I need you to separate the two. Here's my issue with church. How? You're going to ask black people to pay a $45 million loan on a megachurch. But yet you don't put none of those black people to work. So let me get this right now. You just took out a $45 million loan from a white man. Once the interest is paid, you're looking at probably 45 times 45. And you're asking black people to pay this. So the bank is getting rich, but what does the community get? Do you have a supermarket to go with that church? Is there a school to go with that church? Is there a hospital to go with that church? Is there a factory to go with that church? Is there some airplanes to go with that church? Hell no! All that money, the only thing he gives you back is hope. We don't need no more hope. We had hope in Obama. No. Hell with hope. You know what hope does? It paralyzes black people. Hope makes you think that all you have to do is wait and pray and count your best. Enough hope. We need faith in ourselves. Faith in what we can do. Not hoping with somebody on the outside. And then there's the issue of white Jesus. But I can tell you some of y'all scratching it. Some of y'all got white Jesus up there. Now, I'm going to break this down so it makes sense. Because the pastors always want to ask me, well, listen, Doc, we listen to you and all. But why do you keep talking about the Jesus thing? Color don't matter. And when I say pastor, I'm a psychologist. Color does matter. Listen, y'all, I want y'all to understand this so y'all know it's not a superficial argument. Your brain stores all information in symbols or archetypes. Every memory you got is translated into an image. If a child is raised up since birth looking at a white image of God, the brain will take that image, codify it, and make it a a part of the child's law of their own being. So when a child grows up, their brain will associate that image of white Jesus with anything white. So then by the time he gets to second grade, he expects the principal to be white because God is white. He expects the judge to be white because God is white. In fact, he's comfortable with white people running his whole damn life because of God is white and God is pure and God is all power. Then maybe it only makes sense that white people should be in control. Listen, I'm telling you, you're teaching black kids to worship white folks before the white teacher even get to them.
All right.
Who is that?
All right.
What's his name? Do you remember?
Mo Hasten.
Mo Hazen.
All right. Yeah.
All right, Hazen.
Yeah. Yeah. Mo Hasten.
Everybody come in my office at the church, they see my black Jesus. I got black Jesus.
All right. I see. There's a slavery when it comes to religion. And it really against your will. When you're really wanting to know the truth about who Christ is, and you being portrayed against that will as to go get into the truth, but you're being put in front of you something that's not really true, because Jesus was not pure white. Now, it doesn't really say he was Negro, but he wasn't pure white. Mm-hmm. That we know. It does describe him as one of a coloration in his skin. So that ruins him from being the white Jesus, the pure white Jesus that we see with the straight hair, and his blue eyes that we see hanging up everywhere.
Well, that that was a famous artist,
right? And
Michelangelo that used his nephew, his sister's son, as the part to paint that picture. And so nobody knows exactly what color Jesus was. We can't remember. We don't have a ancient picture of him from that past.
Right.
But we do know. And why are there some people who believe that they believe that color don't matter? That's what some people think. Color doesn't matter. Well, it matters to some people. So if it doesn't matter, why you got these curly hair, blue eyes up there all the time?
And like you said, it doesn't matter. But here's of course one writer had a statement: if it didn't matter, we're just pointing some things out. If it didn't matter, those that have the straight hair, pure white, blue-eyed Jesus is a picture hanging up in their vestibule or their home or in their churches and whatsoever. The question would be, if it didn't matter, would you be willing to prove that by putting a colored, it doesn't have to be a black, just colored, tinted, the skin tinted a little bit, a colored image of Christ in replacement of your pure white image of Christ, if it didn't matter. Now, if there comes a problem, that means it does matter.
Absolutely.
Because the evidence of that is shown real quick. All right?
Yeah.
If it comes a problem where you question, well, why should I do that? Then it's showing it does matter. If even the question comes, because if there's no problem, then it wouldn't be no problem. What's up there?
Bernard Coleman, an artist. Here, I've got my picture he got out there. He did for us. Remember our church. He had the mural on both sides of the choir stands, if you remember, Jeffrey.
Right.
And he had that, they were Jesus, with both colors.
Right.
That's the way he painted it.
Okay.
Right. So sometimes in our religion, we can be moved to forms of slavery.
Well, sometimes, I'm talking about the mind just a few minutes ago, and he just talked about the mind. You see, sometimes we get captured in our mind, and we got that set. We'll never change. Some people, some black people. He might be right. Some black people got it in their mind. No, you gotta. No, that's not Jesus.
Right.
That's not Jesus. I know. And then this little girl. I question that. This young girl, I think, fell out of window. Fell out of window or something. Have you heard that story? She fell. I forgot how many stories she fell, and they were all amazed that she didn't get hurt.
Okay.
And she tells the story that Jesus caught her.
Okay.
Now, how did she know it was Jesus? Well, she had seen probably all her life was a white Jesus. How did she know it was Jesus? So her mind had something to do with that.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
Her mind had something to do with it.
Could have been an angel, you think? Could it have been an angel?
Could have been an angel.
Could have been an angel,
Yeah.
but why does it have to be Christ?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Her mind,
You know,
so that's what we talk about.
You know, and there's many things, man, that comes up that's so deceptive. I know this is a little bit off the subject, but you know, such as that story right there. You know, if we are dealing with truth and the fact, like one commentator with the two that were going at it.
Yes.
You know, if people deal with the facts and the truth. I think that was Bill Mayer. You know, then it's hard to find yourself slipping into slavery. It's kind of hard when we really deal with the facts and the truth. It's hard for somebody. I'm not saying impossible. I said it's hard. It's hard for somebody to slip into a degree where they find themselves a slave to something. Because anytime we roll in denial, we roll into an area that not really seeing things and calling things the way it really is, or sugarcoating it, we open the door to allow ourselves to slip into some form of slavery, where we are under the control of something that may, it could be many different things that can be controlled, you know, and controlled. You know, you could be a slave to drugs. You could be a slave to pornography. You could be a slave to so many things. I'm just throwing some just to open up the mind. But when we don't deal with the facts and the truth, and we to see if I, you know, and here's one of the things, like, you know, Pastor was just saying, you know, she said, the little girl said it was Jesus.
Yes.
But one thing it says in a fact in the Bible, and I think we all regularly read the same Bible, I believe, because it's pretty much the statistics that it pretty much in every home that does have at least a Bible, you will find at least a King James Bible in it. And in the King James Bible, it makes it clear that when Christ ascended to heaven, that he will not appear in any form, any fashion, in any way until his second coming. So when we say and you know, I'm not bashing the little girl, I'm just saying, if we count it as a fact, if we say it's true, if we either we say that the Bible's a lie or we say it's true. So if we're dealing with the fact, then how do we so easily accept what this little girl said? It was Jesus. Or people see that was another thing on Facebook. They saw this cloud and they said, if you see if you see Jesus in the clouds, say amen. I saw these people clicking amen, amen. I'm like, they just gonna call just because it has an image of a male's face, of a human face, it's automatically Jesus. But the Bible says he will not appear, until the second coming in any kind of form, any kind of fashion, any kind of way. So we become slave to a mentality, slave to a tradition, slave to a thought, and these traditional sayings and these traditional and you know what they call it, old wives' tales and all that have taking us under control of how we live, and we become a slave to it.
Okay. So, Pastor, let me ask the question. We've been talking about the different forms of slavery. Do you think that slavery is more prevalent now than it was, say, years ago?
Well, the different forms of it.
Yes.
It is. Because
so it's more now?
Yeah. Well, you take bondage slavery. You take, we don't think about that, but let's say that if I owed a company or individual some money and I could not pay them, they said, okay, you got to work. And they put me into a work kind of situation where I can't get out of until I pay. You take marriages. Some marriages can be a form of enslavement.
Yes.
Where at one point, you know, from the Bible, they gave the mother and the father gave his daughter to somebody.
Yes,
He didn't want to be there.
Right.
But that's a form, that's a marriage, but that's against her will for that particular guy. But she's been given to him.
She's been given.
So that's a form of slavery.
Wow. That's right.
The thing today that we have that's becoming so prevalent across the nation, but recently in Tennessee, Corker, our senator, he's been behind this trafficking, where these girls are brought into America. And they're now it's growing now in Tennessee. And Tennessee is rough with. They've been discussing that in our Senate and on Capitol Hill. But they've got a law now that just passed it, and I just looked at that law. It is February 6th. This is in response to the FBI Operation Watchful Guardians in Chattanooga. In February, Senator Corker applauded the work of the state agencies of the law enforcement and nonprofit organizations that's working with this. But these girls are coming in and they get hooked. And they get hooked by somebody who is just taking care of them. And they're spending their money. These guys spending their money. They don't have, they give them enough to eat on and all this kind of stuff. But they don't have anywhere to stay. They come to town. They don't know anybody. They're hooked on that. So that's a form of slavery. That's the new. That's the new slavery that we have right now.
The new slavery. So that's what they call it, sex slave trafficking.
Trafficking.
So so it's no different, Pastor, would you say, no different from this form of slavery as a slave trafficking as to the slavery of the days of old where our ancestors were being enslaved. It's the same thing. Is it the same slavery?
Because at that time we don't talk about the sex involved. We talk about the work involved, but there was sex involved. Because Master had them later in the time he wanted.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the missus agreed. She didn't want to be bothered. So she said it. Really. She said it. But listen. They don't want to write this, but the missus had her share on a good looking strong.
Okay. Yes.
Man. She has some fun.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
So we're talking about slavery, different forms, different types of slavery today. And the one that really stands out to me, Pastor and Jay, is this cell phone. You made mention of the cell phone earlier. Every time you look up, somebody has got their cell phone up to if it's not up to their ear, they're doing this. So that's a form because people can't sit down and eat dinner in the evening, go to bed at night without their cell phones. They need their cell phones for everything. A lot of people, different people, they have their jobs on their cell phone where they're doing work. So they've become slaves to their cell phones because the phones do everything now. Not only can you talk on them, you can text, you can take pictures, you can pull up email, you can do everything on this phone. So this is the new form, as we're talking about the new form of slavery. This is another form of slavery when we talk about the cell phone. Facebook, although Facebook has some good points, it has some good qualities, you can find some things that can be very what's the word I'm looking for?
Productive.
You're productive on Facebook, but you also have a lot of other things that are not productive on Facebook. But people are, it's a 24/7 thing that's constantly running. So when you talk about the different forms of slavery, I mean, to me, there's so many now. I mean, there's still as many. It's just not what Pastor talked about, the slave trafficking, and that's one of the things that's big here in Tennessee now. But I have to agree, Pastor, with what you said about how it's so many forms and it's very prevalent, just like it was in those years ago.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is a good program, Jay. I appreciate you inviting me to share with you at this time. But we're still fighting. There's a mindset. There's a mindset that's high in government that need to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, let me predict. Right now, if Trump happens to be the president of the United States, what we see in these violent demonstrations is nothing like what we're going to have if he's the president of the United States.
Okay.
And I appreciate. See, I'm an NAACP. I've worked for civil rights. I've been in this ever since I was about 17 years old, because of my brothers brought me into this. But there is a new group on. Mm-hmm. It's called, what's that young group? What the young people name? Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
Black Lives Matter is a new group, and they are really on anything that deals with life.
Absolutely.
As far as black people.
Absolutely.
But when I first heard about that, Jay, I thought that they were dealing just with police. Mm-hmm. Black Lives Matter. You're killing black people.
Yes.
I thought that's what it was, and I believe that's where it started. But then I went on the internet. I would encourage anybody, go on the internet and read what they are really about.
Absolutely.
They're about more than that.
Absolutely.
And now, no matter what happened, you find the NAACP is quiet. When the last time you read something where the NAACP is involved in? Mm-hmm. NCLC. When the last time you read anything or heard anything in the news report where we are involved in anything like that? Mm-hmm. Those young people are online.
Absolutely.
Anything that come up, they're right there.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't know what happened to Tennessee. When I heard the other day that in Nashville, the mayor refused to allow the Black Lives Matter to use the library for something, for a meeting, because they had a law that they didn't allow anybody to use it that did not have a mix, if they were against having a mixed group.
Okay.
And I was surprised, because everything I've read and I looked at the Black Lives Matter on the national sale, they got young people of all kind of colors, all kind of people in there.
Absolutely.
And I don't know what's happening with the one in Nashville.
Okay.
Maybe it is restricted just black folks.
Okay.
And if it is, that's a mistake. They need to clean that up.
Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, Pastor, there actually is an organization that has been in Detroit for, I want to say, over a year now, called the New Detroit Era. And they are a group of people along the same lines that where you're talking about this Black Lives Matter in Nashville. But the New Detroit area is much more widespread. It's a bigger organization where they take on the injustices in the city of Detroit for any person. And because they have chosen to go that route, they've not only been in the city of Detroit, different states at this point have called for them to come in and to try to help restore some of the injustices that has been going on in the different states. So you might want to check them out, pull them up too, Pastor. They're doing great. New Detroit Era.
New Detroit Era.
Yes.
Okay, we'll do it. But Jay, also when we think about what is happening now, really across the United States, and look at, I'm ready to. I got a piece now. I'm trying to finish up getting this out to my email people. But did you see the halftime show for the football?
No, sir. No, sir. I didn't see it.
Well, that was a whole lot of flesh showing.
Okay.
But
there was a whole lot of flesh showing.
But what the criticism was is that she Beyonce, yeah, she celebrated, and this live Black Lives Matter.
Yes, okay.
And because of that, the police in Nashville said they would not provide security for her concert.
Okay.
And that's been across the nation. A lot of them said they wouldn't do it.
Wow.
But my writing, what I've written there, I just got to send it out. I'm talking about what the police responsibility is.
Absolutely.
And they also criticize her because she celebrated the Black Panthers. Now, the Black Panthers organization, they need to go back and read, and I tried to give them a little history of the Black Panthers because I went after I saw that and looked that up, and I saw on public broadcast.
Yes, sir.
They did during Black History Month twice.
Okay.
They presented the history of the Black Panthers.
Okay.
And when you look at that history,
yes, sir.
They had video. They had persons who testified about them and what happened when the police talk about they murdered policemen. They had to resort to a sense of protection because the police were raiding that place and killing folk. And they did kill some police.
Absolutely.
But there was out of a sense of self-defense. That's the way it was. So I suggested in my writing that everybody that's got a problem with the Black Panther ought to go back and order that tape. That's $24.
Okay.
I'm ordering. They need to look at that tape.
Okay.
Because they had white policemen who had served and who were now retired, and they were telling that story about J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI, how they were doing some stuff behind the scene that was illegal.
Yes.
And that group is a community group that served meals to folk who were hungry. They had an educational system behind it. I mean, I didn't know all that until I looked at it myself and looked at that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So part of it, if we get a mindset, unless we read or have something that comes before us to change our mind,
absolutely,
we'll die with that mindset.
Absolutely.
And there's some people that, and I want to tell you, this fellow that's ahead and running for president, he has a mindset that he tries to hide it, but it just comes out. All of that stuff he said, the language he used, and the stuff he used, that's in his mind.
Yes.
That's who he is. Now, he ain't pretending.
That's
and if you got him for the president, we're going to have all kinds of trouble in the street.
Absolutely.
That's my prediction on that.
I believe that, Pastor. Yes.
All right. Okay. You have anything else? All right. Well, we've winded down the show. You've heard several different things about many forms of slavery.
Yes.
Something comes to my mind as we close. I saw on Facebook where there was a post where somebody said that the Senate is trying to block, not the Senate, the Republicans are trying everything they possibly can to block President Obama for appointed a Supreme Justice. And so they asked for folks to put their comment. And as I was looking at I saw over like 20,000 well, I didn't look at all of them, but there was like 20,000 comments that had been posted. But the majority, but I'll say at least about a good 100 of them that I kind of scanned through, the basics of the comments that I was getting was actually just criticizing. Well, they should do their job. They should leave alone. They should stand back. Republicans are all right. We were talking about the conditioning, being slave to the conditioning of your mind, of your mindset. Pastor Jerkins spoke some about that. There were some things that some of the pre-recorded commentaries said about the. Now you can become a slave to your mind. Just sitting there in your chair or on the computer, sending messages, even tweeting criticism does not make the difference. And we look at and as the person put the post on that the Republicans are trying to abuse their power as they always has these last two presidential terms, and actually many more. But especially you have seen it in these last two presidential terms, the abuse of their power. But it's saying those words doesn't do anything. you have become a slave to deception of progress. All right. And the reason I say it like that is that if there is to be a change, we have to recognize it is true that the power of America is in the people. However, it's just like nobody can make you do anything unless you give it to them. No one can take your power unless you give it to them. No, you have the right for anything unless you give it away. All right. The only thing somebody actually takes from you is your ability to keep breathing. In other words, take your life. Okay. But anything else, nobody can take from you unless you give it. Now, the thing I'm saying is that there's only been 2 times that that we the people, we hear that the people have the power. And how does the people have power? It's in your vote. It's in your vote. All right. You can't complain. It's just like in a relationship. You go out, ladies. Yeah. You see that a guy has anger problems and anger issues, and you take them into your life in a relationship, and he start beating up on you or cursing you out, calling you out of your name, having anger issues with you, snappy, short patient, and all that. You do not have the right to complain because you ignorantly chose this person. I said ignorantly. All right, you saw it, you did nothing about it. You went the opposite direction. Yes. You took this person in, knowing who they are and what they are. However, the same thing. If folk, like I said, it's only been 2 times that we the people use our power. The first election of Obama and the second re-election, especially the re-election, because folk, no matter what the Republicans tried to pull, that's right, to try to tarnish the vote, folk united, absolutely, and still got their vote through. Absolutely. We the people, are the power, and the same thing. If you vote these radicals into office, and you might say, well, I didn't vote for them. You voted. Well, if you didn't go to put in no vote, you voted for them. If you didn't go vote at all, you voted for them.
As you close, let me put in a local thing. Just no matter where somebody's listening right now and receiving this, it might be a situation in that community. Locally, on yesterday, I was invited to give the cause, give the reason why we were there, kickoff for Attorney Bullock Neal, who's running for judgeship. Now, she is more than adequately prepared, qualified for the position. The 19th judicial system determined in 2013, I think, a couple of years ago, that we needed to have additional judges in our judicial area in the 19th district. So I think it was Attorney Hicks who was part of that negotiation and getting that done. I wrote him a letter, and I said in the letter that we do not have an African American, or I put it ethnic minority, African American is what I'm talking about, as a judge. We do not have a female as a judge. Our children having to go before this. We were talking about the mindset a minute ago, and they see that. See what that guy was saying a minute ago? That's right. What they see and how it's in your mind. Well, they go before those, and I told them, here's an opportunity for you to elect a black woman who will serve both as a woman and an ethnic minority. They chose somebody else. Okay, now she's running again this time. It's up. As Jay was saying, it's going to be up now to the voters. Absolutely. To to put her in.
Absolutely.
And I've written that. I sent it out to the police department, to all these numbers that I got, and I got most of the politicians, all that on my stuff. All of them gonna get that letter.
Okay.
What I'm saying to them, we need to have the 5th largest city in the state of Tennessee. Yeah. Well, it takes in Clarksville and Montgomery County and Robertson County. That judicial 19th district takes in that. But we're the 5th largest city.
Yes.
In the state of Tennessee. It don't have a black person or minority person or a woman on the bench as a judge. Everybody go before these men. So we can change that.
Absolutely, Pastor.
And I'm not asking just black folk. I'm talking to everybody. That you ought to want to change in your city. So I'm sending this out, not just to black voters. I'm sending it out to everybody I know. If I got your email, you're going to get it. Do I have your email?
No, sir.
Well, I need your email. You need to get my stuff.
All right. I continue, folks. Like I said, instead of criticizing, use your power.
Use your power.
All right?
Absolutely.
Now, that from statistics base, there are actually more folk for Democrats, but not all those that are for Democrat vote. Folk, if it wasn't for some of the Republican folk who saw what the Republicans did that voted for Obama, then because it was some of them folk, and a lot of I know they said they were switch outers, but see, at that time, during Obama's 2 elections, folk were wanting justice. It didn't matter whether you were Republican or Democrat. They wanted justice. They wanted a government that could be restored, and wanted somebody who they felt best to restore the government. Now, if you see folk, all right, and Obama presented himself as that person, and in the preliminaries, in the leading up to the voting precincts, okay, he presented himself as that person. Not only did he present himself prior to, but he yielded himself as the person he presented. Now, folk that you see are not presenting themselves, all right, before the precinct voting preliminary, okay? Before that, why would you go out and vote for them, all right? And why would you take it lackadaisy to not vote? If you have a problem with Republicans and you see that they are the mess up, the guy didn't go through a whole lot of things. They childishly, selfishly shut down government, which hurt people's pay and income. They do a whole lot of stuff. They try to take people who deserve health care. Obama made a way for people to try to be able to get. They want to take that away. You want to go back to the way it was, where senior citizens, that's not just black folk. That's white folk too. There's a bunch of senior citizens can't afford health care. So what I'm saying is, if you got a problem, if you see what the Republicans are doing and it's not satisfactory to you, then it's up to the people to vote, not vote. I said not vote Republicans back in office. Okay? You need to put the other type in. All right? That's all I'm not going to say what the other type is, but it don't need to be Republicans if it's your problem.
Let me close. Let me thank you so much for that, Jay. One of the things I'd like to ask here, based on what you were just saying there now, we see the front runner in the Republican campaign is Trump. The mind, we're talking about the mindset. What would be on the mind of people that where he is 20 or 25% ahead of anybody that's as they claim that right now, and it looks like he might get the nomination. The Republican Party is they are really mixed up now because they are embarrassed that this is happening. But why is it so that so many people seem to be voting for him? Now, the psychologist, I talked to a psychologist yesterday, and he said he had just left a meeting where psychologists had gotten together. That question came up. What they determined is that there are a lot of folk that want somebody who's strong and who has a will to be doing everything. And they said that is why he's getting a lot of this attention right now.
Okay.
But if his mindset is based on, is coming from the things that he's saying, that he said some awful things.
Absolutely, Pastor. Yeah.
That people, you know what I'm saying? But Jay just said, if you disagree with that, then you vote against it. Look like there's a whole lot of folk, at least on the Republic, and there are some people, and I was surprised at one, I won't call her name, but one of our members works at a precinct last election.
Okay.
When I talked with her, she said, I'm surprised, Pastor Jerkin, I'm surprised at the number of black folk voting for Republican. I said, why are you surprised? She said, one of our outstanding preachers. I said, I know him. I know who he is. He's Republican. I know he's Republican. He's voting the Republican. He's a Republican. That's why he voted it. But you see, the mind, if you can get a person's mind, it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
Why do you think women stay with guys that beat up?
Come on, Pastor.
Why do you think they got the mind?
Yeah.
Their mind is enslaved.
Yeah.
They can't get out of that.
Yeah.
All right, Jay, thank you so much for letting me share your time today.
All right. Well, I guess that's a good way to end it.
Yeah.
Your mind has been enslaved.
Your mind has been enslaved.
All right. Thank y'all for tuning in. All right, we'll see y'all next week. All right.
That mind